everybody. It's 7 o'clock. It's a new week. Of course. It's a new week. It's the same old you, it's the same old me, though. And the news is what it is. And we're going to jump headfirst into it. What did we expect, right? Actually, we were saying there's definitely still money left in the coffers out there, and of course, the spending hasn't really stopped. And because the spending hasn't been curbed in any significant way, God knows how many more years has been bought. Then again, if colleges like Harvard over the years can build up their endowments to be worth many billions of dollars. I mean, you just think about what could be left in the kitty for all of these rabble rousers and these color revolution organizers, and that'll probably explain away how any of this is possible. And Los Angeles is even just the tip of the iceberg. We'll be talking about the Los Angeles uprisings over there. To call it an immigration anything, protest, whatever, it's not immigration. It's something far worse. It always has been. And of course, it's only the tip of the iceberg because as we dug up not too long ago, I was looking at this nokings.org on June 14th, trying to organize protests in hundreds of locations around the country. And anyway, a lot of stuff we'll be talking about tonight. What happened over the weekend, what's going on right now, what people are saying, some of the footage. We're going to take your calls. I've got a couple of really great voicemails that came in. We had a very productive morning meeting this morning. It was a great meeting. We actually took our first call during the coffee meeting this morning. I just put Zoom on my phone and I put it on speakerphone. Had a great call from one of our viewers out there who lives in Mexico, and so that's going to play a big role in the first hour. In the second hour, around 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, is when Robert Phoenix is going to show up, because out of the last few times we spoke to each other, the southern border came up as one of his chief concerns, even when it's not in the news and in the news cycle. So I want to talk to him about the southern border. I want to talk to him about what that all leads to in his estimation. But also I wanted to get a little bit more of an Astro breakdown of, this kind of divorce between Trump and Elon Musk. I want to know who has the cosmic upper hand and who is potentially on drugs. How big of a role drugs has to play with it, I don't know. I think it'll be a fun second half, and it's going to be totally related to the first. So it was pretty easy to throw this one together today. In fact, the hardest part was just being able to whittle down what kind of media we were going to use over the course of the broadcast, but we'll figure that out. No doubt. I have a couple of things, just a little bit of an announcement with our guest this week, Robert Phoenix tonight. Tomorrow, I don't know what the theme is going to be, but we gotta do something nice to, I don't know. Tony Black can't come in tomorrow. It's his 95th birthday tomorrow. So, gonna figure something out, but I got to acknowledge that. Other than that, I don't have anything else written. Brandon Joe Williams on with us on Wednesday. On Thursday, we got Robin McCutcheon coming back. And then Friday the 13th is off. It's a summer Friday. But it won't be off because on YouTube, essentially on YouTube, on Friday night, I'm going to premiere what we did the week before, this past Saturday night, June 7th, with Anthony for the second episode of The Brothers. It was nearly a 2-hour episode. You're going to love it. That interview with R.J. Williams was absolutely fantastic. It was everything I hoped it would be, as far as filling in all those gaps of knowledge back in the day when we interviewed him and we were talking about his magic act, and then we found out he was robbing banks in New York City shortly afterward. We talked about the whole thing, his process, the escapes, him getting arrested, what prison was like, what he's doing now. He even ate a little bit of a light bulb for us again. It was don't watch it. It's on Rumble, but don't watch it, because if you haven't watched it, then Friday night will feel like it's not an off night. and that'll be premiering at 7 o'clock. And you guys will just, and that's what my plan is here, that I do every other Saturday. And then I take the Saturday night show and I premiere it on YouTube on the following Friday off. And so, it kind of balances out. There you have it. And then I get to catch a couple of sunsets a month with Aurora during the summer. Catch fireflies before she goes to bed. That all works out. That's a good trade-off for me. So those are my announcements for the week. I also want to thank somebody out there, Chad, from the Discord. Thank you, Chad. He's been helping me create some of the first ever original thumbnails for the show, starting back last Tuesday when Chrissy and Leonardo was on. So it's potentially a dawn of a new age for the show. And I just want to shout Chad out for that, because it's something that we desperately needed. And still, I'm sure it'll come a long way, but cheers to new things. Members only section. That's the last thing I want to say. If you are a sponsor of the show through quitefrankly.tv, okay, through the Squarespace, the actual website, make sure you get the password for the new members only section on quitefrankly.tv. That is a members only blog that I post all of the same things. I mirror all the things that I put on Patreon and Subscribestar, all the behind the scenes stuff, pictures, videos, links, thoughts, all that stuff. We finally have something to bring all of the website sponsors up to par with the social media platforms that are Subscribestar and Patreon. So make sure you get in touch with me. I've been sending out those emails through Sunday Stream link emails and all that stuff. There's a password for you for your members only section. There you have it. So that's all I got for you. Let's get this one kicked off, shall we? Be right back. It's going to be a fun one tonight.
You wanted to overrun us and poison us and take our families and kill us? You will die, not us!
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100-1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's roll!
Feeling great. I'm feeling just fine right now. I've got this amazing story to tell you about. It takes place in Los Angeles. Have you heard anything coming out of there lately? So this is from Zero Hedge, Los Angeles war zone. The insurrectionist mobs. They attack cops. They set fires. Block 101 freeway with furniture, by the way. I see freeways being blocked with furniture. All right? They could have started a moving company. Could have done something good with their lives. What began as an anti-immigration and customs enforcement protest. So that's an ICE protest. We don't want ICE here. You have no right to be here. Ironic, huh? Coordinated by rogue Marxist-aligned nonprofits on Friday night in downtown Los Angeles, it quickly spiraled into riots and chaos, escalated by Sunday into what sure seems like the insurrectionist behavior against the federal government. You bet. Now, violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try to stop our deportation operations, but these lawless riots only strengthen our resolve, President Trump wrote on Truth Social. This should be the easiest thing ever, because you can just scoop them all up now. Anything that moves goes to jail. Anything that moves. You sound like a tyrant. Have you watched any of this? Anything that moves are in these areas goes to jail. That's it. That's it. And that's just the light end of it. Trump continued. They're trying to kill cops. For everything that they were saying about January 6th, they had to lie for how many months about people beating cops over the heads with fire extinguishers. It never happened because they needed so badly. They needed so badly for there to be one death attributed to the protesters themselves and not attributed to some strange, never again spoken about rash of suicides, or, of course, the protesters themselves dying of either health-related issues or the cops. And meanwhile, over here, you've got people on top of overpasses throwing bricks, chunks of cinder blocks, and everything else at cops, hitting them in the heads. Thank God a lot of them have the helmets on. But, of course, this is not... Trust me, Nancy Pelosi will not be showing up to give everybody challenge coins after this one. After this all disperses, the cops will not be getting challenge coins from Nancy Pelosi. You can mark that down. Trump continued, I am directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and Attorney General Pam Bondi in coordination with all other relevant departments and agencies to take all such action necessary to liberate Los Angeles from the migrant invasion and put an end to these migrant riots. That's good. They're not immigrants. That's good that the language checks out. But if you want to put an end to the migrant invasion, you're going to have to really arrest half of Congress and then all the people who are helping them in the agencies prior to your arrival. Order will be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free. Now, I mean, I've got a lot of time for you guys tonight, especially in the first half. There's so much going on. The rock from the overpass, that's just incredible. Smashing police vehicles. There's a bunch here we can go to. Where the hell is it? Take a look at some of this. Here, take a gander at this. You got an entire fleet of police vehicles that are just stopped there in the middle of the freeway. Palestinian flags, for some reason. Mexican flags, of course. All types of flags. No American flags. That language you're hearing there is actually the language of the first generation conquistadors who brought the Spanish language over from Europe. And we are now being lectured through that language about colonialism and land that was there. Oh, everybody's so funny. The whole damn thing is just so funny. No reason to be found anywhere. What the hell was this? What is that, El Salvador? Got the tribal drums and everything. Isn't it? It's incredible. Scoop them up. Scoop. Just start large scooping motions. Scoop. Here's a little bit more. Some boulevard somewhere. There you go. That's not even a police vehicle, ladies and gentlemen. Throwing rocks at just moving vehicles in traffic. They don't even seem to be border patrol. It's just civilian vehicles driving down boulevards with illegal aliens on either side throwing rocks like it's like a football gauntlet or something like that. There you go. Wonderful neighbors. Neighbors and great friends. Don't you want that guy moving in next door to you? Dating your daughter? There we go. That looks like an official vehicle of some sort. And then when one of these animals get run over, everybody's like, how dare this is horrible. This is horrible. Listen. I don't want to see people run over, smashed, killed. But it's one of those things where you're okay with the logic of the circumstances in which something like that would happen. It's logical. I'm okay with the logic. I wouldn't order people killed, but you're talking about protesting in traffic, attacking moving vehicles, jumping in front of moving vehicles. The idea that somebody would get run over, smashed, and killed I'm fine with the logic. It makes sense. Everyone's like, everything should stop because a person went into the street in order to attack or obstruct anybody, law enforcement, or even a civilian trying to save their own lives to get away from these mindless animals. So am I wrong in thinking this or in feeling this? They're throwing furniture in the middle of the freeway. I got this email, and I have quite a few of things coming in with you. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'm going to give away another round of silver and one of Grimbold's SpaceX patches. This one is actually coated in methamphetamine. It's going to be dusted with meth. So tonight I'm going to be taking your Rumble Rants, your YouTube Supers, and your Gold Pills. I'm going to be putting them into the name picker. And the winner is going to get this patch and a round of silver, which I think just went up to about $37 an ounce now. So I don't know. Sounds good to me. That's going to be coming from Tony Arterburn at quitefrankly.gold. Just putting you that out there. But one of the emails I got here is from Misty. And Misty said, Frank, there's a certain level of cognitive dissonance that's hard to ignore. Entering a country illegally, participating in civil unrest, condemning the very nation offering you refuge, while proudly flying the flag of the country you fled. It's not just contradictory, it undermines the legitimacy of your actions and message. If the place you left was so worthy of allegiance, why leave it? And if the country you came to is so intolerable, why stay? The logic is not just flawed, it's self-defeating. And yes, 100%, Misty. 100%. This is a glaring issue that even can be seen from the shallow end of the pool. Okay? From even the average news reader, and people just like, what the hell's going on out there? Now, of course, that's if you're not a Harris voter. If you're a Kamala Harris voter, then this is probably, to you, some glorious repudiation of fascism, whatever the hell you're defining fascism as being today. But speaking to that basic observation of all of the hypocrisy and stuff like that, the irony, all the mixed messages, these people are largely babies sucking on a bottle. That you got to, I mean, I know some look scary. They got bandanas on. Their faces are tattooed. Some of them have done serious prison time and are willing to do more again. But this is not an invading force. Remember that. It is an invasion. They were a part of it, but they're not an invading force. They are entitled dependents. They are weapons. There is no ancestral attachment to this land, okay? There's no ancestral attachment to this land for these people. That's just some convenient rationalization for stealing basketball shoes. That's what people said. Oh, it's a reconquista. My ancestors used to live here and blah blah blah. No. If you left all these people alone, if you left the entire city, if you abandoned the entire city of Los Angeles to them, with no services, no police, no plumbing, all the American businesses left, they would simply follow the resources like they would follow a herd of buffalo or something like that. They wouldn't start farming or something like that because they could have easily done that back home, wherever their home is. Some of them think that this is, and some of them will actually say this is a reconquering of land, which is hilarious in and of itself because it's land that the first generation conquistadors lost or outright sold off to us. A lot of the Southwest of United States and California was sold. Okay? So these people, much like what's going on in Europe with the Muslims, are not masterminds. They're not really invaders. They're the weapons chosen by the invaders who are, we talk about them and there's so many different types of organizations that work together on this, faith-based organizations that masquerade as, branches of one church or another, one denomination or another. There's just so many things going on here. And these people are weapons who, at the moment, are tolerable primates. That's who the real invader, that's what the real invaders look at these people as. They're tolerable for as long as they serve a purpose of making political trouble for people like Donald Trump and to just generally tear apart whatever's left of the common fabric that we have in this country, cultural fabric that we have in this country, to make things just feel like shit, to raise tension, to stoke color revolutionary sentiment. It would have been minimal effort to keep all of this rabble from ever entering the country over the last 4 to 5 generations. Minimal effort. Okay? No serious nation gets invaded by tens of millions of barely literate people wearing flip-flops over the course of 60 years. No serious nation gets invaded by that kind of a class of people. All right? They are imported. These are powerful organizations who want them here. All right? Because there are plenty of people in El Salvador and Mexico and Guatemala and Colombia and Cuba, wherever the hell they are, Panama. There's plenty of people who have job prospects, who are highly educated, who are entrepreneurial, who want to and do try to come here legally, and things are held up. And while they're sitting there in line and they're trying to show everybody, hey, I'm ready to come and work and be part of the American system and the dream, and celebrate 4th of July and be all in on it. While they're sitting there with their papers in their hands, this is what's going on with the tattooed faces in San Diego and Los Angeles. That's what they're watching. The tattooed. All you have to do is get over here, was crawl over the border and have a tattoo on your face. So it's crazy. And these organizations, very well resourced. They not only have all the money, but they have the media who is willing to gaslight people, right down to the way that they describe the whole thing being an immigration protest. Or, of course, how violent or non-violent it is. Here's a couple of clips of what you would expect to come out of places like CNN. Here's the first one.
This has been very peaceful, Brian. It has been tense at some points, but we haven't seen any violence happening here. What people are saying is that they don't think ICE belongs in Los Angeles, that they want ICE out of the city. And
they want ICE out of the city. These non-citizens want ICE out of the city. And it hasn't been violent. We're just standing in a place where people aren't getting their heads bashed in by cinder blocks right now. So it's been fine. I mean, from what I can see, everything's fine. Here's another nitwit Harridan that they brought on CNN to beat everybody into thinking that this is all fine and dandy.
So there's unrest. Let's start with there's protest, lawful protest, which is allowed in this country. There is some unrest generally dealt with by local law enforcement, and if there needs to be state support through state police. And sometimes even National Guard under a governor's authority. What is happening tonight is unprecedented.
Yeah, so it's unprecedented. No. It's all unprecedented. And it's probably because of Trump. If that went on for another 30 seconds, probably because of Trump. It's just, it's crazy. And then here we have Karen Bass. She's still mayor out there, by the way. This is the woman who was in Africa when Los Angeles was burning last year, and we heard those strange whispering cryptic messages about forthcoming events and all that stuff. She's a whisperer, don't you know? So here she is with Wolf Blitzer. I didn't even know that Wolf Blitzer is still on television. But here she is saying that, you'll hear it for yourself.
I just have to say that if you dial back time and go to Friday, if immigration raids had not happened here, we would not have the disorder that went on last night. I will tell you that it is peaceful now, but we do not know where and when the next raids will be. That is the concern, because people in the city have a rapid response network. If they see ICE, they go out and they protest. And so it's...
If they see ICE, they just go out and they protest. And there's...
just a recipe for pandemonium.
Right, yeah. The law enforcement is a recipe for pandemonium. And if it weren't for immigration officials coming in and trying to remove people who have standing deportation orders or violent offenders and they're not citizens, then, of course, there wouldn't be any of this stuff. If the raids had not happened here, we would not have the disorder that went on over the last couple of days. Doesn't that sound, it's logical, right? So she's essentially saying, hey, if you didn't try to remove the illegal aliens, they wouldn't have to revolt so violently, waving the flags of their countries while they do it. Just don't get sexually assaulted in Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, because Karen Bass will probably blame you for dressing so sexy. Well, sexy as all hell. She had legs for days. What do you expect? Not to get hounded? Not to get humped? So there you go. This is just par for the course. Karen Bass still out there, still getting paid. I'm surprised she's in the country. Whenever something happens in Los Angeles, I'm surprised she doesn't go to Ghana. Here is Maxine Waters. This is actually kind of satisfying. Cops slammed the door in Maxine Waters' face as she tried to enter the Los Angeles Federal Building.
No, I want you to... Hello. Congresswoman Waters. I just came to use my congressional authority to check on David.
Ma'am, we're logging securely now to all visitors.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public apparel.
I need to get in.
I have a congressional authority, though. Well.
What are you hoping to do, Congresswoman?
I just want to see David Werther. Right.
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen.
Would a congressperson normally be able to enter the...
Normally, yes.
What is happening here?
Well, there were some of the authorities, I don't know who they were, and I'm trying to get in to see David Werther, who they have arrested. He is the head of SEIU local union here. I don't know why he was targeted. I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't know whether they're going to deport him. I want to report back.
Oh, if he's deportable, then he's not a citizen then. Whoever he was, time to go. I don't give a shit anymore. That was so satisfying to see that door slam in her face. Huh. Anyway, onward we go. Let me see here. Nick Shirley. My man. I texted Nick Shirley not too long ago to tell him, bro, anti-ICE protesters in LA try to rob me and kick me out of their streets. Well, Nick spelled their wrong. Anyway.
This guy's a little fucking bitch. No, this guy's a fucking... He's a fucking little white nationalist. Fuck this guy. You're a little fucking bitch.
Don't touch the camera.
Fucking bitch. I know.
Hey.
You're a fucking bitch.
Tries to steal and break microphone.
I don't do anything. Get the fuck out of here. I know you fucking do. You fucking white nationalist motherfucker.
How?
I know who the fuck you are. You fucking Republican bitch.
Bro, you don't need to put it. This is one of them. They're going to get it.
I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna fucking tell it to his fucking face. You fucking little faggot.
What did I do?
You know what the fuck you do?
What did I do?
You know you fucking antagonize people? Oh, fuck your fucking bitch ass up.
I'm not doing anything.
Get the fuck out of here. Just like the cops. Get the fuck out of here.
Hey, I have a right to be here just like you.
Yeah, so do we, motherfucker.
Okay, I'm not.
So why the cops here? You're a fucking cop. That's what you
I'm
fucking
not the
are.
cop.
Yeah, you are. You fucking
How am I a
asshole.
cop?
You want to fucking steal that shit?
Get out of here, bro.
What? I'm fucking cornered, you little bitch. Are you scared?
I'm not scared.
You fucking faggot.
What did I do?
You're a little fucking...
That's not very progressive of him calling him a faggot like that. He should never call people faggot. That's terrible. That's not progressive.
Fucking bitch, I fucking see you on fucking line. Always fucking antagonizing right-wing fucking ideology, motherfucker. This is our fucking...
You think you're ever going to get a word in with that guy? That's what I told Nick. I said, listen, man. I said, you've done great work. Pick and choose your places now, especially since you're very recognizable. Nick's got to start getting into just broadcasting. And he's got to go, pick and choose where he's going, go to different, college campuses or cities that are not melting down to cover one issue or another. But these are places that are just, I don't know. You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me enough money to go. And definitely not to wave a microphone near anybody's face. This is nuts. I really hope that he takes care of himself. Because the water is heating up. So, and here's another one. Listen to this. Listen to this. Mexican's president. What was her name? Claudia Sheinbaum. Mexican's president, this is by way of Mike Lee, says Mexico's president called on the Mexican nationals in the United States to mobilize to stop Congress from imposing a 3.5% tax on money sent from the U.S. to Mexico. Listen to this. If necessary, we'll mobilize. We don't want taxes on remittances from our fellow countrymen to the U.S.
Nos vamos a movilizar.
Yeah, we need our money. The bill goes through Congress. It would tax 3.5% across all money to Mexico. I think that it's not high enough. I think about 12% would be good. 12% tax. And that should go right to us. Right to us. Whatever pennies there are, I'll take 17 cents of that. I'll take 18 cents of every I don't know, $1 million that goes. I don't give a shit. Who the hell? Like, imagine this. Imagine this. We don't want taxes on our countrymen that are siphoning money out of the United States. It's just it's incredible. Now, I have a little something here that came in from Blue Lotus, listener out there who was on with me this morning on the coffee stream from Mexico. I want to read that in just a second. But here's what I wanted to throw out to you guys, because as soon as I finish reading this, I'm going to go to our voicemails that we got, and then I'm going to start taking your calls. And here's just something aside from whatever's going through your mind, theories, thoughts, what comes next, and what we might be, what we're being distracted away from, whatever. You knew that one way or another, this was going to be a part of 2025. So to say that it's all a distraction, obviously you can get a lot done when things are chaotic. But this is part of just the general plan. This is part of the general plan, no doubt. But when we were back in 2022 or 2023, around there, you can go back, you can find episodes of me talking about this, probably in June of those years. When I said, it's incredible to me to say this, but I really think that Pride Month is just dead in the water. I thought it was dead in the water. About 2 years ago or so, I saw that and I said, this shit's dead. Because there's nothing left for the corporate gay pride movement. There's nothing left for them. They had totally lost all of the peaceful persuasion power that they had. You remember I said that? That every opportunity to peacefully persuade somebody to come to this movement, nobody believes it's a compassionate civil rights movement anymore. They see it for the militant corporate garbage that it is. That it is not only militant and corporate, but it also affects people on a very, very granular level, where it's getting into preschools and it's screwing with the minds of children. And what we're seeing right now happening within younger generations has nothing to do with nature or whatever. So I think everybody is starting to see that that's gone. It's lost all of its peaceful persuasion power. Okay, just look into its founder. You look at somebody like Harry Hay. That's it. Go look at it. It never was very, never was very nice. And now that companies realized that, parents aren't tolerating penis tucking swimwear for kindergartners anymore being pushed in people's faces when they walk into Target, it has largely retreated from sight. Have you noticed this? There's obviously still going to be people out there changing their defaults with the flags, the rainbows and stuff like that. But you have had to notice the large retreat. It has slinked back considerably from what it was 4 years ago, considerably. And now we have this shit in Los Angeles instead, which is going to dovetail out to everything else. Take a look at this. This was sent to me by my buddy Sal, the butcher, a couple hours ago. In America, this is from nokings.org. In America, we don't do kings. They've defied our courts, deported Americans. You can't deport an American. You can't, you can't, I'm telling you, there's no reason. This is why I'm saying you got to surrender some of the arguments. It's okay for us to talk to each other about it so we can keep each other sane through all the gaslighting. This is gaslighting. Deporting Americans. Gaslighting. disappeared people off the streets, attacked our civil rights, and slashed our services. What services? They're talking about things like making it so that non-citizens can't get small business loans anymore, which is incredible that anybody was ever able to get a cent. Ever. It's incredible that was ever possible, but people are getting far more than small business loans. And you know what? It's laudable that somebody would come here and want to open up a barber shop or a small market or whatever the hell it is, and they want to do that. Become a fucking citizen then. Some people, I've been here since 1975. What is that fucking supposed to mean? So what? Even more crazy that you're still not with papers. Oh my God, Brandon Joe Williams, if he was listening to this right now. In a couple of days, I'll be talking to him about some more questions because I often wonder, how can I just not be a citizen? I'm as patriotic as they come. But as far as citizenship goes, as far as what the United States government is and how it manages us and everything, that's not what we have this patriotic fervor for. That's a fucking lie. That is a 3 miles deep, thick lie. On what holds it all together is our want, our need, our desire for all that to be true, and also to stay out of jail. What else they have over here? The corruption has gone too far. No thrones, no crowns, no kings. Ooh. On June 14th, we rise up all over the place. You can host an event. You can get a toolkit there. I don't know what it is, but this is the map. Upcoming calls and trainings. So they want to train you. They want to help you put together things and put together events. And what was the toolkit mean? Got it. State of play. Why we're mobilizing June 14th, hosting your own No Kings mobilization. Resources, that's messaging, posters, graphics, security, getting support, planning your event, getting media attention, key event roles, sample event, agenda, rally, sample event, a rally. So they're actually going to tell you, how to actually put together an event. Just like I can tell you how to put together a night of talk and stack all of your materials. So yeah, totally organic. Just popped up out of nowhere over the weekend, and there you go. You can get your toolkit. Get your toolkit. Be part of the revolution, yo. So yeah. Now here's what I want. So why do I bring that up? With the Pride Month going away, this kind of filling the gap, and we knew that this was going to be a big summer for that, because if they were going to be starved of all of their resources going forward, then they are definitely going to have a big push this summer. But spending, like I said, really hasn't changed, so they're probably not hurting for cash right now, and they still have the banks. They still have the banks that actually print the money. But I was wondering about this. You remember a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, we were talking about the authorization of militarized police forces and getting local and regional police forces, state police, almost like a overflow military grade equipment, whether it be armored vehicles and things like that. And people were up in arms, both left and right, saying that we would complain about this when Obama did it. Donald Trump, why is he emboldening militarized police and all that stuff? And we were contemplating that. I opened up the lines for it. Not that much came through, but this was something I asked about. I said, is it because there is something in particular he's waiting for? That they're all waiting for, that they know might be coming, just seeing how everything is set up, how the chessboard is set up. So I was wondering if he had if the team at least had the drop on shit like this coming, because obviously it's been in the works. That website didn't pop up right now. It's probably not the only one out there. There's probably tons of people looking for paid actors to show up one place or another, but there is that whole idea of the Tet offensive situation. where regional issues are popping up with any number of the several standing armies worth of foreign men that have been strategically dispersed throughout the Union over the last however many decades, but especially in the last 5 years alone. So that whole Tet Offensive idea, we're going to talk about that with Robert Phoenix in the second half, but I would really like to get your calls after this email. Listen to this. This is from Blue Lotus. She said she was going to be writing in, so we have something for tonight. Frank, I'm not sure if this is the email referred to as the best way to reach you regarding updates related to ongoing Mexican-related issues here in Mexico, because we were talking about that both sides, what's going on in Mexico, what's going on over here, etc. Especially regarding legal rights of foreigners over here. She's talking about Mexico. But I thought of some information. I got up some information for you, and I think that your viewers may find it interesting. What rights do foreigners have to protest inside of Mexico? Here's an example I found, and I was told verbally throughout the process of becoming a legal resident here that my protesting as an American citizen would get me deported and my properties confiscated. Here is what I found when I searched for verification. See, that's reasonable for them. For us, it would be racist and exclusionary, which is part of the PSYOP, which is part of what's been done to us now for generations to diminish that idea of American exceptionalism, to equate everything that we've ever done that is exceptional to racism and bigotry that needs to be reversed. So living in squalor with no standards is actually an equalization of things as it happens and as it is around the world. Article 33 of the Mexican Constitution. What is Article 33? The text in English actually states the following. Quote, the President of the Republic will have the power to expel from national territory any foreigner according to the law and after a hearing. Foreigners may not in any way participate in the political affairs of the country. What would Mexico do with protesting illegals? Deport them on the spot. In 2002, a dozen American college students in Mexico legally participated peacefully in an environmental protest against the planned airport outside of Mexico City. They swiftly found themselves deported as lawbreakers for interfering in Mexico's internal affairs. And another, what do you think of the part of Article 33 of the Mexican Constitution which states foreigners may not in any way participate in the political affairs of the country? Well, she got me something from Quora.com, and here's what I have from Blue Lotus. While on Mexican soil, keep out of Mexican politics. If you ever discuss it, make sure you do so only in the company of people with whom you're comfortable. Some students didn't understand the full implication of this law. One Canadian exchange student participated in a political demonstration in downtown Guadalajara. When it was discovered that she wasn't a Mexican citizen, she was deported back to Canada. We at the university could do nothing for her. She broke the law. Now, for the next 100 years, a forecast of the 21st century. Here's a quote. During this period, Mexico will experience substantial economic and population growth. By the end of the 21st century, Mexico's military and economic power will have grown tremendously, and it will be in a position to challenge the United States for dominance of North America. Blue Lotus says, I remember specifically the book describing the National Guard in the U.S. being unwilling to enforce immigration law or intervene to control civil unrest as they themselves are embedded Mexicans with loyalty to Mexico. That by the time Washington understands what's happening, these states, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, even Colorado, would be 100% Mexican demographics within the law for enforcement and judicial system. And finally, I had to strive to deal with 5 years of effort dealing with Mexican bureaucracy, famously horrendous, many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars dealing with the lawyers and fees and government fees to finally receive my permanent resident status. I pay Mexican taxes of 30% on income. I pay employees and am in good standing with all the laws in Mexico City, state and federal taxes, et cetera, et cetera. However, if I got to one protest, it's extremely probable I would be deported and my property confiscated with relish. Everyone here knows how to keep their head down, how to be polite, and to act as a polite guest. Even the Mexicans don't challenge the government here, so there's my 2 cents. Cheers, Blue Lotus. Now, you could say, well, that's a little stiff. That's a little stiff. When it comes to foreigners, I don't think so. When we were talking about Palestine and Israel protests and all that stuff on college campuses, people that were actually just importing all of the the crap from overseas so that they can fight their battles over here in the U.S. If you're citizens, fine. But I mean, if you're over here as a student and you're just, I don't want anybody here. Anybody here. I don't care who you're protesting in favor of, against. Shut the fuck up. Out. Get out. I mean, did you see what's happening? You see what's happening. There is no pressure. There is no incentive to be and embrace this country, to embrace its flag, its national heroes, its philosophies, its ideals, its founding documents. Everything has been told to every generation for the last 3 or 4 that whatever you know about the United States is viscous. It's always moving. It is a living, breathing document. It is not anything that has any culture. It has nothing firm you can plant a flag on. It is nothing. It is simply what? It's been an extension of white nationalism. And we have committed a lot of crimes, a lot of sins that need to be atoned for. And this is atonement for many of it. Because like I said before, these are not invasion forces. Okay? The guy with the bandana that was harassing Nick Shirley, the very emotional man with the bandana on his face, he's not invading the country. No matter how many of his friends he's taken away, if we had a serious government that was serious about its mandate to protect its borders, those people are not here. They're here because they were planted here, because it's part of a transition that has been planned from much higher levels than barely literate, flip-flop wearing men that are coming in from any number of 120 countries around the world through that southern border. It's just not the case. They want to feel as if they're here in the 21st century and they're, riding in on horses and changing the way things are. But I mean, they're only given this kind of leeway right now because they're useful. Once they start causing problems for the people who sponsor them to be here, I mean, they'll lay waste to them. They won't even kick them out. They'll just lay waste to them. They'll create a pandemic and say, hey, listen, everybody's got to, we have a new emergency use authorization. And because you remember, with those emergency use authorizations, it exempted everybody from that was coming in from other places. You remember that? Because the liability only extended to those people who were American citizens. So they didn't want to have some migrant from El Salvador showing up and getting hurt because of Pfizer, and then suddenly he has a case as a citizen of another country that this was done to him. You remember that? That's seldom talked about these days. So, all right, here's what I'm going to be doing. It's 7:49. I want to take your calls. 914-200-0269. I got that up. 914-200-0269. Here is a couple of voicemails in the meantime. This one is from Alex G. Excuse me. Here he is.
Hey, Frank. My name is Alex. I love the show. I'm here in Miami, Florida. I just want to give my thoughts on the matter. A lot of these people are complaining about, being deported and stuff like that. Obviously, you're illegally here. And not only that, you've probably been here for years now. Why don't you have your residency? Why don't you have your citizenship yet? A lot of these guys complain about being deported when they're just sitting on their asses, not doing anything to become a citizen. If you're fighting so hard to stay here, why don't you fight so hard to become legal? This is a train of thought that I can't comprehend them at all, regards to the way of thinking. Now, with my mother, she was here illegally, back in the 70s. She got her residency and her citizenship. She didn't have kids until she became a citizen, and then she started her own small businesses in New York, and then eventually, she sold them and then moved down here in Florida. And she had no government help. And I can't see why these people can't do the same thing. Has times changed that much where it's that hard to become legal or to become your own entrepreneur? I don't get it with these people.
Well, Alex, great points, great questions, and they're not all rhetorical. What we were just saying before, I think that really plays into all this stuff. The the privileges of citizenship. This is all about destroying the privileges of citizenship. There's no reason to do that. You have the same rights afforded to you. You have more of the judicial system bends over backwards to protect you in every aspect that it can, to keep you where you are, to keep you doing what you're doing, to protect you from anybody that wants you, whatever. There's no incentive. If you had to hold you, okay, you want to open up a business here in the United States, then you have to have citizenship. Nope. In fact, as we were just learning, if you haven't known it already, but if you don't have to be a citizen to receive a small business loan from the government, even though the government should not be giving small business loans to American citizens. I think about that. We're also giving medical coverage to God knows how many non-citizens. There's less and less reason to become a citizen of the United States, and I have to imagine that that's the point. It's about dissolution. They're trying to dissolve anything that differentiates an American citizen from a squatter, and that's it. That's why in all their official literature, everybody is an American. Everybody's an American. It doesn't matter. And of course, if you're an American, then you're a fascist. So an American is just anybody but an American. And then a fascist is somebody who believes in what America is actually, what the charter actually is. All right, let's take a call. 508, you're on the air. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, it's Barbara.
Oh, Barbara. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. No worries. I'm just calling in about the immigration thing. You're 100% right with everything that you're saying. And back in the day, you had to be sponsored by someone. And they don't do that anymore. You weren't allowed to get any government assistance, nothing. I'm a legal immigrant, and my parents did it the right way. They had to wait 3 years before I got my citizenship because I was a baby. But I know other people that came in when they were older, and they all did it the same way, and no one ever got government assistance. I just don't understand, why don't they pull all the funding for them? They'll all go home.
I know. It's and that's why they say in that where was it? No Kings. Let's see here. Hold on. NoKings.org. They say they have attacked our civil rights and slashed our services. Think
they
about,
have no civil rights.
Well, think about that last part right there. They're slashing our services. Anybody. So, and this is why I say, don't call these people invaders. Okay.
Nope, not at all.
Invaders are not like, by the way, can you feed me now? I've gotten here. No,
right.
It's please. They're slashing our services.
I think the most messed up part is that when people that are U.S. citizens that cannot work, I was actually injured and was out of work for 8 months because I couldn't walk. I could not get any assistance at all. Nothing. They gave me $150 in food stamps and said, see you later. That's all we can give you.
Where did you come from?
And I've worked since I came from Greece, but I've been working since I was 14. I came over here at 3 months old. And when I went to go get assistance, it's gone back like 12, 15 years. And it was the first time in my life I was not working. And they said, we can't help you with anything. This is all we can give you is $150. That's it.
Man, oh man.
It's like, what do I work for? To pay for everyone else?
I know. Yes.
Seems like it. Yeah. Seems like it.
You remember, you ever see that movie Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe?
I did not see that.
It's a movie about an old boxer, whatever. He had a magical run. It's like a New York based story. It's based on a true story. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember one scene that was really striking in that movie, and that was when things weren't going well for him and he wasn't getting fights and he certainly wasn't winning anything. He had to go to some sort of an assistance office in New York City to get money. And I guess it was an earlier form of welfare or something like that. And and then when he really started, his luck really started turning, and he started winning big fights, and he had a lot of momentum professionally behind him. There was a scene where he returned to the return to the unemployment office and gave back what he borrowed, and made a statement about, about how it's his duty to bring that back. And I always said, "Wow, you want to talk about a relic of a mindset that is gone? Holy shit!" And
oh yeah,
no, it's an interesting scene there. But thank you for the call. It's wonderful to hear from you, and great points made.
have a good day.
Yeah, have a good one. And that's another reason why sometime maybe this year or next year, I don't know, but we got to watch Gangs of New York. For Quite Frankly Film Club, we have got to watch Gangs of New York. Have to. I have a feeling that I'm going to relate more and more to Bill the Butcher than I ever did. We'll see what happens. 914-200-0269. I've got a couple of super chats here and some Rumble rants. Remember, anybody sends in a super chat on YouTube or a Rumble rant or Gold Pilled, I'm putting you into the name picker, and one of you guys is winning not only this patch, but an ounce of silver from quitefrankly.gold. So that's a nice little prize. Just letting you know. The odds are in your favor right now because there's only a couple in there. Let's take a call. 424, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, buddy, it's Hollywood Carlos. How are you?
Carlos, how are you? I hope you're out of harm's way out there.
I am out of harm's way because I'm out in the desert.
Oh, good. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, I'm about I'm 2 hours. Well, 2 hours outside of LA, but it's like a 6-hour drive. In any case, I started to call about a couple things, and listening to Barbara and everybody else. I have like 4 or 5 things, but I'll jump in quickly. This whole thing with Barbara mentioned the the sponsor, getting sponsored. People do still get sponsored. It's the unfortunate is that the people who enter the country the right way are the ones who require sponsors. It's the ones who come in illegally who do not require sponsorship.
Obviously, yes.
And I know this to be true because in Hollywood, when we sponsor, we have to always sponsor actors in order to, or directors or whatever, to come work here in the States. And so, I've sponsored people, whether through the company or individually. So that still is a process. And let me tell you, it is incredibly difficult. Even when it's a big blockbuster movie, you have to show pages and pages of documentation that includes press and other, approval. I mean, it's like a colonoscopy of your history in order to get a freaking sponsor nowadays. It gets harder and harder. It changes per administration. It's still hard under Trump, but I mean, the topic was when Obama was in office with the Australians in particular.
Really? With the Australians?
It all shifts like the wind. It depends on what's going on politically with said country that you're coming from.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially Australia. Yeah, that's interesting. Australia would have an issue.
Well, it was when Obama was in office. It was so hard. And I know one of my specialties was the Australian market. And getting my Australian actors, approved to come in was like pulling teeth. So...
well, thank you.
I just want to bring that up. And then on Brandon's course, you've got to take the course. I'm actually going through it again because it's meaty. It's very meaty with info. It addresses how you can unclassify yourself as a U.S. citizen. It is the very crux and the problem of our system and our rights and all of it. It's a different classification. It basically said you're a U.S. citizen, sure, of the United States. Notice it's in all caps. It's because the United States is incorporated in Washington, D.C. In order to be classified as such legally.
Listen,
all that stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
but there is a way to do it. I'm going through it right now.
I understand.
And,
I understand. I understand it.
No, but this is more so for everyone else, because she mentioned, even Barbara mentioned, we're U.S. citizens. We're our benefits. And that's another thing I connected to when I lost my job and it got laid off and the whole thing, and I'm running out of funds. I applied for EBT, for SNAP benefits. Do you want to know, in the height last year of all this stuff going on with the immigrants coming in, how much I was approved for monthly for food stamps?
How much?
$23 a month.
Wow.
I'm sorry, $23 a month. While all these illegals are getting $10,000, debit cards and all this and whatnot, and being put up in the Roosevelt, all that insanity.
Oh yeah, $1,000 rechargeable credit cards over here on the East Coast, including the Roosevelt, and they're taking care of everybody's baby needs and diapers and all that shit.
I knew someone who showed me their card and showed me their account. They had thousands of dollars in their account. I mean, I just was so deflated. And I remember talking to the lady on the phone. She was so embarrassed to tell me the dollar amount. And I said to her, I literally, out of anger, I started crying. And I said, you know what? The fact that it was so difficult for the government to pull out $23 from me tells me that I would much rather you keep it and give it to the next person who's maybe got a child and really does need the $23.
Right.
I would sleep better at night knowing that. And she insisted it. She says to me, well, you can buy a bag of rice. That was her response.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Last time I had to subsist on ramen noodles, it was college, but thanks a lot. I'm a grown man.
I know. Exactly.
All right.
Right.
Well, thank you for the call. Insane. Thank you for the call, brother.
You're
It's
welcome.
good to hear from you. That's Carlos from Hollywood. And, Robert Phoenix will be joining us in a couple minutes. I'm trying to get through a couple more things here real quick. Hold on. Here, first of all, let me see if this is the scene. Jim Braddock returns the relief money. Hold on a second. Let me see. I think this is it. Let me see if it has good audio here. It's online. There you go. Gave it back. Cinderella Man. I haven't seen that movie in a long, long time. All right. Let me see here. Jim from Maine. Go ahead, Jim.
Hey, Frank, good evening. How are you?
It's going well. It's been a while since I heard from you. Jim Zell, go ahead.
Yeah, just watching the news, and I'm watching it with my family, and it's like just disheartening. It's like deja vu all over again, right?
Yeah.
It's the same playbook happening right before our eyes. And, of course, the common sense thing is, right, you have to remove the illegal alien. You have to do that. No foreigners should not be protesting. And people will say, you should only bring in the National Guard and the military if private property is being, destroyed. Well, what do you think's happening there? It's like, you don't think other people are being affected by this? Other businesses are being affected by this in Los Angeles? The thing that that I want to see what President Trump does is, no half measures.
I'm with you.
You can't tiptoe. You can't. If you do a half measure with this, at this point, it's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts, because it's not going to stop in LA. It's going to continue on. If he's going to move, and if this gets more and more volatile, and he doesn't act strongly, I mean strong, he's going to rue the day he does it. You can't have any half measures.
No, there needs to be. They spent 3 years hunting down Americans whose face was caught on any corner deli camera in Washington, D.C. in January of 2021. They spent years hunting people down. And right now, you not only do you have violent upheaval in a major American city, but all the people doing it are essentially saying we are not citizens, but this is still our land and go fuck yourself. I mean, what? Right now, there should be a perimeter set up around the entire city, and they should be shrinking the perimeter every day by a couple of miles until they sweep thousands and thousands of people up and away, just gone.
Yeah, unless it disperses, you send in who you have to. Marines, whatever you have to do, you have to squelch it now, else it's going to continue city by city. And you mentioned the January 6th. I heard somebody from Homeland Security, might have been the day before yesterday, saying, hey, just because you're not arrested today, 2 months later, you may get a knock on your door and we just may take you right there, because they kind of alluded to that type of tracking that was going to take place, that they say eventually we're going to pick you up.
Yeah.
So,
well,
it's just sad to see, that it's happening in almost the same way. It's right from the playbook. But Trump has to be forceful here. He can't tiptoe. If he doesn't act decisively, he's going to be in trouble.
if you were given that kind of executive power, what would you order?
I would, I think right now I would wait to see if it continues to escalate. If it escalates, I would call in the military. Absolutely.
Well, I heard that 500 Marines were mobilized or something like that. I don't know if they're
mobilized. I don't know what they're doing, but if it came to a point where it's still going to be disruptive and the burning of vehicles and property and attacking federal officers, I would bring in the military to basically squelch it. Maybe you have to invoke the Insurrection Act. And, you don't want to really see that, but, that may be, if it leads to that, it may have to happen. And that opens up, all different avenues. You're going to see the military, it'd be like martial law.
Yeah.
Basically, you're going to see curfews in place. Once the Marines start taking, they're able to enforce law, you're out in the street, you're going to get shot. I mean, that's what you're talking about. Right. You don't want that to get to that point, but if this continues and they don't stop, I mean, what other point you had? You have to get law and order back. I mean, I don't know what you do in order to reinforce that, but this has to stop. This is going to happen in every major city in the country if he does not act here.
Yeah, good points. Thank you so much, Jim.
Yeah, Frank, have a good one.
You too. Take care. Jim Zell. Let's see. This one came in from Velez from Rogue News. He just sent this to me on email. I saw his comment in the Discord right now. Great show on Monday, Frank. From my work with folks in Los Angeles, recall my calling in during the Palisades fire, and please note the following. Flags, number one. Most media covering protests, if a flag is shown, it is from Mexico. Yet Los Angeles is one of the most multicultural cities in America, with a lot of foreign nationals in the city. No flags from Venezuela, Honduras, Guatemala, or other South American countries with large populations in the city. Therefore, paid crisis actors. Well, I saw a couple. Most of them are Mexican flags, you're right. But of course, Palestinian flags, which you knew that was going to show up. Because that's like the new that's the new Confederate flag. The Confederate flag for earlier generations, and I'm just talking about mid 20th century to late 20th century generations, is still a flag that was flown all over the world by people who wanted to buck higher powers. Let's see here. Similarly to BLM Antifa events in 2020, we have pallets again, supplies available, walkie-talkies for coordinators, etc. Therefore, paid coordinators. Recruiting. This is the third and final point that Velas wrote in. I have in my possession a number of darknet and similar hiring communications security folks in LA and local universities, and they have wait. I have in my possession a number of darknet and similar hiring communications security folks in LA and local universities have seen. These offer people $100 for 3 hours of time to appear at protests, $25 for each additional hour. They are provided lunch, masks, and various paraphernalia to take with them to protest. You can select if you want to appear in the city or on campus or some other designated location, therefore paid crisis actors and coordinators. Be well, Velez. Okay, and I'm with you on that one too. Think about that from this standpoint. It's an operation. It's an op that needs to be responded to, and harshly. But part of the op is, where are the cameras? How much of LA is really, I mean, if you don't live in Los Angeles right now, what are you seeing in your head? Around every corner, there is some roving mob of masked people holding Mexican and Palestinian flags that are looking for something to fight over. And, but it's really just, there are theaters. There are theaters of conflict set up. And those theaters are very well covered with all types of media. So it's real, but like most things, it's all an op. It's color revolution. It's rising tension. and it's being invested in. So that's why I say whatever the hell it is, it needs to be swept up. And everybody that was getting paid, you're telling me that if you picked up somebody that is getting paid $100 for 3 hours, a measly $100, and they get picked up by some kind of paramilitary security force or something like that, and they're being interrogated, is $100 really worth that much to not give up who the hell paid you and trade up for the bigger fish? So that's what I think about with that. $100 for 3 hours? Ain't no way I'm shutting up for $100 if they nab me. No way. No way in hell. So start sweeping. That's what I say. Okay. Anyway, real quick, let me get to these super chats. We have another voicemail for afterwards, and I just want to, and then we're going to go to Robert Phoenix, and that should leave us with a few minutes to take your calls after he's off the air. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't fret. I still want to get you on with me tonight, and we will do that in short order. Lakiva says, Mr. Incorporated on Wall Street, in conjunction with the International Bureau of Usury, did this and can't say Merry Christmas. No, that's the kicker. Not allowed to say Merry Christmas at the end of it, too. Nothing American. Nothing anything. Irving Sanguinetti. Irving, what's going on? Just sent Irving a thank you message in the mail today. It's Dems' fault for the last 4 years for the mess that we're in now. It's a lot more, though, man. No doubt about it. They are willing front men. They are willing, they try to paint themselves as protagonists and all this stuff, trying to be there for the little person. And of course, the little person is never American. Never American. It's usually some special interest that don't have any citizenship. So it's no doubt a part of it. Road Trip says, where are the feminists screaming discrimination on the all-male, no kings riot job ads? Great pay to boot. And then Jay Britt says, I'm in. I guess that's in with the silver dollar. Yeah, well, there's a lot on that front. Over there on Rumble, let's see here. Maggie D8 says, Frank, I'm in my late 50s. I have developed a very serious taste for heavy metal. It's the music that feels appropriate these days. I love it. Well, listen to War Nerve by Pantera. I shared that before. That's a good one. That'll get you in the move. In fact, you could listen to the whole Great Southern Trendkill album. That's pretty good right now. Let's see. Merlin Marvel says, Frank, I wrote out a dream that showed me my future husband. There's also birds involved. It's on the recent dream story request in your X group. I'm too shy to call. I think you'll enjoy it. Merlin, make sure you send me the link to that so I don't forget. In email, frank@quitefrankly.tv. Grandma Grateful says, happy Monday, Frank and Franklies. Natwall 30330 says, one of the few shows I still watch. Well, I'm happy you're here. It's one of those nights where we have to do the news because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot more dovetailing off of this soon. Grimbold says, silver is up. Think the patches have gone down. I know. The SpaceX patches have definitely gone down in value over the last couple of days, but silver has gone up. It's nearly $37 an ounce, I think. Whoever wins tonight's giveaway may request just the silver. I hate this show. Not your show, Frank. The shit show. Oh, yes. Well, there's plenty of that. All right, what else do we have here? From Miss Maniac says, it's all just so sad and infuriating. Unsure if true, but Japan supposedly sprayed looters and rioters with blue ink to identify them for a prosecution later. Our whole system is effed and we are tired of being screwed. Yes, we are. People are very fatigued. Pablo Wenscabar says, poop. I got nothing intelligent to add. Yes, you do. Tommy Jekyll says, too late. I'm already fretting. Okay, well, listen, don't fret. Don't fret. First things first, we're going to bring in a good friend of ours. Let's see. Who the hell are they? It's Robert Phoenix. Let's bring him on and let's talk to him. RobertPhoenix.com. You know him. It's been a while since we talked to each other. Every once in a while, we'll do a little dive through history. We'll talk about Richard Nixon or JFK or whatever the hell's going on. Right now, I want to talk about things that are happening in the country, both from a practical and an esoteric level. And Robert, welcome back to the show. It's great to see you. I don't hear you, Robert.
There I am.
There you are.
Muted. There I am.
It's great.
Right.
Great to see you again, man. How's everything been?
Everything's been unlike some parts of the world. Everything's been great. Had a great weekend up here in the northern part of Texas. Went and met a bunch of new people. Went to this place called McKinney. I've never been there before. And Frank, I felt like it was like in the 1950s. It was like so freaking American. People had like red, white, and blue bunting on their homes. Just these super old Victorian craftsman style homes. Went to a kind of gathering that one of my clients put together, and she brought a bunch of people over that I never knew, and it was like a truly cool, great experience. And then on Sunday night, I got to meet her 100-year-old mother.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, so it's like your mom's 100. I got to meet her. Because not every day you get to meet a 100-year-old person, right?
That's what I say. If there is a 100-year-old person out there, anybody in their 90s right now that is clear and is coherent, I want to talk to them. And I don't care what the hell we talk about. I just want to hear about your life at this point, and I want to get it recorded too. But I think we'll work this conversation in reverse, because we've been talking about Los Angeles the entire night. And I don't know what you're picking up on. Your work obviously has you looking toward the stars and star charts and what's going on in the sky and how that has lined up celestially throughout history and what we can expect as far as human behavior over those cycles. But not only do we have an inflamed situation in Los Angeles popping up over an issue that needs to be taken to much higher levels if we're going to benefit this country at all, and that is cleaning up our immigration problem. It's not an immigration problem, it's an illegal immigration problem. But there's just a lot of tension right now, and there's a lot of not knowing what comes next. Of course, it has a lot to do with what Donald Trump is going to choose as a course of action, which is going to lead us to another question I have for you afterwards between him and Elon Musk. But in particular, when you answer, give us your assessment of things right now. If you can please just keep in mind, I know the last few times that we've talked, when this has not been in the news cycle, you have brought up time and time again, the southern border is a major problem. And the people who are coming over the southern border is going to be a major problem at some point. And I don't think that was a very big stretch for anybody, because we've been talking about Tet offensive kind of situations like we're seeing right now for a while. So with that, give us your assessment of where we are.
Yeah, I'll try not to get too in the weeds with a lot of the astrological stuff. I'm just
Yes.
going to keep it as simple as I can for people. But I do have to bring in some astrology here at the beginning, because there's a really important transit that happened on March 31st of this year. Whenever we have an outer planet change signs, it is really, really significant. And we had Neptune go from Pisces to Aries on March 31st. And if you go back and look at when Neptune went into Pisces, it really starts right around just after 2011, Fukushima, right? Like Fukushima sort of starts this thing that happens with Neptune and Pisces. It's really interesting. And when I was at Gaia TV, I did this one show on Neptune and Pisces, and I brought up the whole immigration thing. And I had pictures of like migrants on these lifeboats or whatever headed towards Europe. And that's a very Piscean kind of thing, right? Like the ocean, the water, their victims. Pisces tends to be very compassionate, weaponizing empathy, asking people, what would Jesus do? Well, they'd bring them in and bring them into their home, right? Like that was really going on a lot during Neptune and Pisces. And then it's changed. Like we don't have that anymore, right? Like Neptune and Pisces is over. And now all of a sudden we have this very different energy around migrants, people that are being, I don't know, posing as people in need, but we know they're not really people in need. A lot of these people are just being weaponized against the country. But also, if you go back and look at the last time Neptune was in Aries, literally the day after Fort Sumter surrenders, Neptune moves into Aries. That was the last time Neptune was in Aries. So essentially, what we're seeing here is also a recreation of Civil War energy, because that's really when the Civil War kicks off. And there's been all kinds of things that have been happening that are symbolic, very symbolic, around this whole Civil War energy. One of the things that most recently happened was the arrival of South African refugees from South Africa to the United States, which, if you just look at it from a geographic perspective, they're coming from the South, right? They're literally coming from South Africa. And one could make a case that there is a bit of a civil war also going on in South Africa, although a lot of South Africans would deny that. So we have this Civil War energy. I mean, that is popping, right? And we can see the makings of a civil war again right now. And you brought up, I think, very astutely, that the Palestinian flag has become the sort of the new Confederate flag, and making that connection. And so there's a lot happening there, just like with this whole kind of reanimation of the Civil War. And not just Neptune, but Saturn. Saturn just moved into Aries as well. And man, this is a really, really heavy energy.
And,
right? This gets into
not only that,
offensive stuff.
The level of deception, though, what you were talking about. I mean, we know, depending on who is covering the story in the news, there's going to be gaslighting, hilarious level gaslighting about whether something is peaceful and all that, and on the up and up. It's been happening so crazy. I don't even think that people who are on the side of the protesters and want to see people like Donald Trump or anybody who presents themselves as all American thwarted in any way, shape, or form. I don't even think they really see. They know it's all bullshit, but they just don't care at this point. But the level of deception is comical. But there's so many added levels to it now too, where we know these people are out there. But of course, I just read these this email from a listener out there who has some assets on the ground out there that's talking about, again, people being recruited to go and act in a certain way, paid to show up, and there's just, I don't know, nothing is what it seems.
No, again, this is where we get into Neptune, right? Neptune is all about deception and illusion, and nothing. We're really in the fog of war as well with Neptune and Aries. If you think of fog as being kind of this Neptunian sort of meteorological phenomena, right? And the fog of war is a term that was used when it had to do with Vietnam, right? Robert McNamara. You brought up the Tet Offensive. The Tet Offensive started, I believe, in January 30th in 1968, and it went all the way through until September of that year. I mean, just think of that. Like, it was like one of the most massive military war operations in history, and it went on for 8 months, 7 months, very intense. And so at that time, Saturn was also in Aries, right? And you could just see in 1968 that the social threads are starting to unravel, right? You have people that are starting to become very organized, by the way, to your point. Now, this is to your point, because in 1968, SDS, Students for Democratic Society, held a big rally because they were going to go to Chicago and they were going to protest the Democratic National Convention. It was also known as the Summer of Rage. And during that rally, the weathermen took over, and they basically commandeered the anti-war effort. And the weathermen have some very unusual connections with people that were also connected to elite power structures, like Bill Ayer's father, who was super freaking rich and basically was the guy that ran the grid. I mean, literally, he ran the grid, the power grid in Chicago. Okay. So that happens in 1968. And we start to see it across all these student protests in 1968. We have the riots in Paris in 1968, huge. The riots in Paris were so bad that Charles de Gaulle almost abdicated and left. 1968 is a really, really bloody time. And what's really interesting is that this whole thing in LA really kicks off around like June 4th, June 5th, Thursday, Friday of last week. Well, guess what happened on June 4th in 1968 in Los Angeles? Robert F. Kennedy is shot and killed. right? So that's another, kind of weird echo in time. Like this whole thing sort of, kicks off in the anniversary of Robert F. Kennedy's death. And there are people who are really into things like, astro mysticism, synchro mysticism, and the occult. And people would say, well, there's no coincidences, right? Like here is this intensely esoterically, charged event. And through time, there's this echo. And here we are, June 4th, June 5th. This whole thing starts to blow up in Southern California. So there's a lot, man. There's just a lot happening here.
There is. And okay, so then here's what I'll ask. I know that you recently pulled the charts of both Trump and Elon Musk because of their very visible, nasty divorce, or what is presenting as a divorce. And from everybody, the few people I know that are close to the administration, they say there's nothing kabuki about it. It was real. So I just wonder. I want to get that from you in a second, but have you analyzed this as far as projecting just how much worse it's going to get? Not even in LA, but like we were reading before, there are organizations that are trying to give toolkits to anybody in the country that wants to organize similar demonstrations in their town or city from coast to coast. So I just don't know how much more amped up this summer's going to get.
Oh, I think it's going to get. I think it's going to get amped up. But you also have to remember that in 2020, just slightly before May 24th, it was the beginning of the summer of Floyd. I mean, here we go. We're kind of in Gemini season, and again, nothing is as it seems. Who are really protesters? Who are paid actors? Who are people that are working, for the government, or if not the government, perhaps, like the deep state or the dark state or whatever they're calling it these days. But this is just my feeling. I don't have anything to completely back this up, but my feeling is that people like John Brennan and James Clapper and Peter Strzok and a number of other disaffected people, perhaps James Comey. I don't know about James Comey, but there are these disaffected people who were inside of Langley. They were inside of the NSA. They were inside of the FBI. And I believe that those guys were involved in what happened in 2020 because of the absolute hate and enmity that they had for the Trump administration. I would not be surprised if they're involved again. And so when you are dealing with people like that, they have a lot of experience with running programs, right? Like CIA programs, disruptions, color revolutions. Like the color revolutions really take off under Obama. So we could, like, if you go back and you look at when Trump was elected, and the day that he was elected in 2016, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton show up in purple, like I'm wearing now, ironically. And I said to myself, this is the purple revolution. We're about to go through a color revolution. And if you go back and you look at the scenes surrounding George Floyd, like after the death of George, the world is literally bathed in purple. And so we could view this again as another version of a color revolution. And there's a lot of money involved. I was looking at Bill McKibben's group, who's one of the people or one of the groups that are organizing people around the country. And Bill McKibben's group has $40 million in assets. That's in assets. They bring in roughly about $39 million per year. They get funded by Soros, Tides, Rockefeller. There are, it's too echoey and loud. My mic is too echoey and loud. Okay, hold on. I'm getting some feedback here, Frank. Let me change that. Hold on a second.
Didn't sound too bad. I just thought it was just pretty much the room that you were in.
Yeah, I got kind of a big room. Let me just deal with
well, while you're doing that, I would say that that we were talking about money that these groups have at their disposal, and what we were hoping going into 2025, what we were going to see if the Trump administration was really serious about choking off the lifeblood of all these groups, because of course they would have nothing. I mean, what we learned about open societies and George Soros's companies was that so much of that came from the United States government. That when you talk about all the money that any of his subsidiaries or shell companies were dishing out to one cause or another, it was usually just along a big pipeline that came from the central bank, and that he actually wasn't in a large way wasn't even using his own money, even when perhaps when he was buying up all those Odyssey radio stations and shit like that about a year or two ago when he bought like 200 radio stations on the East Coast. So I was hoping that we were going to see that spigot turn off. But even if it did completely, you're talking about decades worth of being able to just stockpile and launder and squirrel away. So who knows? I was expecting this summer to be busy one way or another, but I really would like to see it all choked off.
Well, it's going to be, I mean, that brings us to Trump and Musk, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because that's really at the center of their beef. And that, and I, first of all, I believe it's real from just my own internal sort of sensing. And then when I looked at the charts, clearly it's a real beef. And one of the reasons why it started was because, Musk wants to be a great man. Like he wants to be seen as a great American, whichever way it's going to happen, right? Putting people on Mars or changing, transportation, or in this case, Doge, where he's able to use his technology and go through and find all this hidden money that people had no idea was being spent or squirreled away. And so he started to get a lot of accolades for that. And when they went to the BBB, the big, beautiful budget, Musk felt like all of his work was being nullified. And it wasn't just his work, it was his status, it was his stature. And that's when he popped his cork. And I've made this analogy before, like Elon Musk was never the guy that got invited to parties. When he was in college, he went into business with his mother, and they actually were professional party throwers on campuses. That's how he had to get invited to parties, because he was such a geek and a nerd. And then he winds up in Trump world, and all of a sudden he's at Mar-a-Lago. Everything is like first class. He's the belle of the ball.
It's like 10 things I hate about you or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's really all about that life, right? And so then when this thing doesn't go down the way that he wants it to, he kind of blows his cork, because I don't know, maybe he's had too much ketamine or he's too neurodivergent, but he blows his cork. And there are people who, kind of back Musk around the budget stuff, like Thomas Massey and, Rand Paul. So I think that Musk has a little bit of a bone to pick, to be honest with you. But because he has no filter, because he felt like he was being screwed over, he was no longer like the popular guy anymore. Like he did not go about it the right way. He did not handle it the right way. And you don't take on Donald Trump. You're going to lose that. You're going to lose that battle almost every time. And astrologically, Elon Musk has Mars in Aquarius. So Mars is about action, right? Doing things. And Aquarius is all about technology and the future. And you can see where Musk puts his energy, right? He puts it into the future. And Trump has Mars in Leo, and he has it right on his ascendant, right? He's like a tiger. Like Trump is like a freaking lion with Mars and Leo on his ascendant. But just recently, transiting Mars, meaning where it is now, was in Trump's 12th house, hidden enemies, and opposing Elon Musk's Mars in fixed signs. That beef was totally real. It wasn't fake. And this brings us to the protests. And you were asking, how will Trump respond around all of this? He is going to respond like Tom Berenger in Platoon.
Oh.
That's what we're going to see with Trump. This is not going to be 2020 Trump, where he let all this stuff happen with the idea that he could use that as fodder for the election and show people how just decrepit and violent and morally corrupt the Democrats were, and roll that into his race against Biden. That was the theory Also, there's some other things that happened prior to that I think made it much more difficult for Trump to do anything, because when COVID hit, one of the first things that Trump did, I believe it was on March 13th, because COVID actually starts on 3/11 as well. If you go back, 3/11 was when Rudy Gobert was up in front of that microphone doing this thing with his hands on the microphone. Now, that's 3/11. 3/13, which is Friday the 13th, Trump passes an executive order. And basically what he does is he decouples the states from the federal government. So each state could have its own independent response to COVID. And at the time it sounded reasonable. Like if you're New York, theoretically, you wouldn't treat COVID the same way if you were in Wyoming, right? Not one size fits all. But I also think that hampered him when it came to dealing with what happened next with George Floyd, because there was virtually no federal response at all. And he might have been completely hamstrung by that executive order.
No, yeah. The federal response was wherever the FBI or anybody showed up, they ended up bending a knee. We actually had all federal officials in any hot point, flashpoint location was usually part of some sort of a social media bending of the knee. It was a really disgusting time.
It was horrible. It was really horrible. And now bring that forward to where we are now. There's a lot of frustration and rage, bitterness, rancor that still has not been dealt with from 2020, right? We saw the toppling of statues, the burning of cities, people were killed, animals were killed. I mean, it was pretty bad, really. And most Americans just sat there and said, what the hell is going on here? Like, what's happened to this country? And I don't think they've really forgotten that. So move that forward to where we are now. Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, fire, martial energy. Like people who were tired of what happened with George Floyd. They're going to give Trump a blank frickin' check, and they're going to say, do whatever you need to do to get it done. And he knows that. He knows that. And I think we're going to see something very, very different than 2020. I think we're going to see Trump as the social avenger here.
Oh, well,
apparently the Marines are on their way to LA. And the other thing about this too, it's really interesting. It's a bit of a side note. Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, has deep ties to the communist left, and she visited Cuba at least 5 times. This is long before she got into politics, and she was like really pro Castro Cuba. And there was a group that would go there. And like they would pick the freaking sugar cane, right? And so the group that she was a part of, I always have to remind myself, it was called the Venceremos Brigade. And in fact, Anthony, what was his name, De La Rosa, or the other mayor from Los Angeles previously, he'd been part of that group too. So Karen Bass is like all in. She's all in on what's going on in LA. Like this is her jam, right? So it's going to get hot. This weekend is, Saturday is Flag Day, right? Wrap your head around that. It's Flag Day. It's also Trump's birthday on Saturday. And we're going to have all these events that are supposed to be being staged in all these cities across America to stage a large and loud protest against Donald Trump. So, that's really so expect to see, I'm telling you right now, expect to see protesters climbing poles, taking down the American flag, putting up the Mexican flag or the Palestinian flag or the rainbow flag. You're going to see that. You're going to see that this weekend. You're going to see it on Saturday, and it's going to inflame people even more because they know exactly what they can do or want to do or need to do to really get under Trump's skin and to claim, hey, this is our America, not yours. This is not your land. This is not our land. This is our land, not your land.
Well, I think we're all going to be in for something. And as far as not screwing around, I see this tweet from Nick Sorter not too long ago. It said President Trump is deploying another 2,000 National Guard troops to Los Angeles, bringing the total to over 4,000. In addition to that, to the 700 Marines en route. As a total of 4,700 troops are about to be on the ground. He's not screwing around. Well, we'll see. I mean, I would like to. Yeah, I think everybody would be appreciative if this came. If he was heavy-handed with this, and it stopped in its tracks. It would be interesting just to see how much different this is going to be from the last time. And in closing, I have I have something over here that's pretty interesting. Now, I think that he died. This one person here, Road Trip, sent this in and said, "Hey, Robert, they killed off Prince in April of 2016. So there's your sacrifice to start the Purple Revolution."
I did like tons of shows around that.
That's
and if you really follow that, right, it happens during the month of Gemini. Prince is a Gemini, and the whole thing with George Floyd happens in Minneapolis, which is part of the Twin Cities, and he also dies on the Queen's birthday. So you have the Queen and the Prince, and yes, the purple one was the sacrifice for the Purple Revolution. I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, is it 100 days? I think it's 100 days before Trump is named president. Yeah, the whole Prince thing totally plays into this. Then you have Steven Jackson, who used to play for a number of different teams in the NBA. He's running around calling George Floyd his twin. Like, what's that all about? Right? Like, so you have all this really, really weird twin energy. So your person is right on the button. The whole Prince thing was a total sacrifice.
Well, Robert, what do you got going on the rest of the week? I have to wrap this show up over here, but this is exactly what I had envisioned. A wonderful quick hit with you, and we covered a lot of ground as we usually do. But you broadcast often, and of course, robertphoenix.com is on the screen, and it's also in the description of this episode. So what will people find when they go there?
Well, I'm a working astrologer, so I work with people on their charts and help them out with their life. In the meantime, I do a lot of podcast streaming on YouTube. It's called The 11th House, and I do something called the Astro Weather, Tuesday through Thursday at 8 a.m. Central. And then over on Rumble, I do another show, which is not astrological. It's called 15 Minutes of Flame. I get into kind of the political stuff. And then on Sunday night, I do an astrology show called The 11th House of Robert Phoenix. And last Thursday, I was looking at the planets. Right, I was looking at the planets, and I said, my God, today is going to be a very intense, remarkable, and a day that people will not forget. And that was the day that Elon Musk went off the rails. Right, it was like, I couldn't really see it, but I knew something was happening. I knew something big was going down. And it's also really the beginning of this thing in LA. So people can find some of those links there on that website as well.
Yeah, I always love your takes on things. It's great to follow you on Twitter as well because you're active and always some. I don't know. It just I love that. I love having your work just mixed into everything else that I see throughout the day. So thanks again, my friend, for being here, and we'll link up again soon.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it. Bye, Franklies.
There you go, Robert Phoenix on his way on his horse. Oh man. Okay. Well, listen, we've got, it's 8:45. We got some time for you guys. And, let me get to those super chats. 914-200-0269. That is the phone number. We're going to take your calls for another, maybe 10 minutes tops. Around 8:55, I got to get off because we're getting ready for book club session 2, Tom Sawyer with Charlie Robinson. And that is fixing to be a really good one. Tommy Jekyll over on Rumble says, too late. I'm already fretting. I said that before. Jay Semo says, great show. Cheers. Kiss Chaos says, great show, Frank. And hi to all the Franklies. So let me put Kiss Chaos on the list. I got everybody else on the list. Let's see. And anybody else over there? Grimbold. We did that. Did Grimbold. The patches went down. The silver went up. Miss Maniac, we did that before as well. Okay, and Pablo Wenscabar, we did that. Great, perfect. Over on Super Chat and quite frankly, superchat.com and YouTube, Road Trip obviously says they killed off Prince in April 2016. There's your sacrifice to start the Purple Revolution. Running on Empty says Mexico doesn't allow you to buy property, only 99-year leases. And before Kobe Shumway, I should just say, hey, what's up to Kobe Shumway? A nice tip, but no message. So he sends his love to everybody. Take a listen to this. Here is a voicemail from Steve in the audience. 1 second. There we go.
Regarding the immigration thing and the LA riots in particular, I think that what's going on here, at least tactically and right now, is the intention of delaying the deportation efforts, similar to the Garcia Maryland man thing, where they're basically trying to make every deportation require due process, knowing that that would grind all of it to a complete halt. So I think this is very similar, that they're trying to grind progress to a halt, and combining that with the fact that you can tell that, or at least from my perception, the mainstream media isn't really covering obviously the worst parts of the riot, or they're trying to spin it as peaceful. But if there is some sort of aggressive action by the military or by the National Guard or whatever under Trump's direction, then they will obviously flip that on its ear and show everything, everything bad that would harm Trump. So I think they recognize that they lack the public support for what they want. They being the globalists that are trying to invade, have our country invaded, and they need to get public support back on their side, because right now Trump has it all. So Trump needs to play it very carefully, but I think right now we have the upper hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Carefully, but how careful? Carefully, but how careful? If you're protesting, fine. It's okay to protest. Right? Says, oh yeah, this is a right. This is legal. It's okay. Yeah, you get together, you make some placards with your friends, you're on the sidewalk or whatever the hell's going on, as long as you're not obstructing traffic or assaulting people, especially journalists or anything else like that, destroying property, then yeah, everybody has the right to protest. That's that. But again, that is just one of those things where they were protesting. Oh yeah, is that what we're seeing right now? I mean, they want us to think that. Comedians, we've been talking to a lot of comedians lately. And it's just one of those things where they are, it's crazy how right now comedians are more authentic than journalists are. Because whereas comedians used to be charged with creating parody and extremes, and then whatever we're seeing, things are so extreme right now that there's no place to really create parody. So just to say what is going on in front of you is like a revolutionary act, and in some way you can get a lot of nervous laughter out of people. They're therapeutic. We want to just laugh at our predicament. That's what we're usually doing, laughing at our predicament, because just calling out the absurdity of the life that we're living right now is enough to comprise a comedy act these days. And journalists, on the other hand, so-called journalists, they simply exist to deny the color of the sky. So when you talk about they're running out of political capital and they have to make something happen and Trump has to play it right. Yeah, I guess, but you just got to take people in now. You just got to round people up. If there's one thing, if something goes south and everybody's told to disperse because it is no longer a demonstration and it has turned into something far more destructive, then go home. And if you don't go home, now you get taken in. And if you just happen to not be a citizen after you're taken in and processed, that's your due process. You were processed at the scene of a crime and you're going home. You're not going on some kind of a fucking 3-year waiting list so you can go and, see some liberal judge out in California the year after Trump is out of office and so you can stay. Nope. It just has to end. And I'm telling you, there's no, just like with Pride Month, nobody is being convinced anymore. There's no more peaceful persuasion because there is nothing that is on the surface is showing to be a benefit to America. There's no, what is the benefit of having the people that you are seeing crushing and throwing cinder blocks over there off the overpasses? What is the benefit of having every last person, any of those people on the overpass in this country? Go ahead and tell me what the benefit of having any one person that you see on those overpasses throwing bricks and rocks and cinder blocks over the overpass onto police vehicles. What's the benefit of having any of them in this country if when they are processed, we find that they're not citizens? And of course, if they are citizens, why are they here? And who paid you? That would be interesting. So we need to see who everybody works for. Because it's either you have allegiance to another country because you're a foreigner, or you're an American who's been paid to be there by someone who wants to destroy this country. And then we have to find who they are, and then that's when the real fun begins. So, yeah, good calls tonight, good everything. Let me just get this out there real quick. Make sure that I have everybody on here. So, good. I've got all of the names in namepicker.net. Is that all good? I got everybody from Rumble, everybody from Quite Frankly Superchat.com and YouTube, and also the Gold Pills on QuiteFrankly.tv. And you want to know who the winner? Here's the winner of not only the patch from SpaceX, but also an ounce of silver. Let's go and generate that name. 1, 2, bingo. It is Kiss Chaos. Kiss Chaos. I believe she was the last person that put in the second to last person. Where was it? Kiss Chaos. Wasn't that over on Rumble? I think it was on Rumble. The last person to put in on Rumble. Wow, we'll talk about that. Won it on the river card. Okay, well, Kiss Chaos, email me, frank@quitefrankly.tv. You get the patch and the round of silver. I love giving this stuff away. I'm going to have more and more stuff to give out, and that's that. I have one last thing that just came in. Oh, no. Nope. That was from last week. A note I forgot to take out of my format. Well, that's all I have for you guys tonight. I think we'll have plenty to build on for tomorrow. It's going to be a pretty easygoing show. I don't have a guest that I know of at the moment, but we'll see what happens. And if we just spend a little time together, that'll be fine too. And we'll see what develops from now until then. There might be 10,000 troops in LA by that point. And yeah, you guys have been wonderful. Thank you again to everybody who called. Thank you again to everybody who left a voicemail. Thank you again to everybody who put in for the raffle tonight and just wanted to contribute to the show that way and support the show that way. It's a great boost, and I'm looking forward to another night with you all tomorrow. In the meantime, we're opening up the doors to the Culture Club in just a few moments. It is the second edition, the second session for Book Club, June 2025, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. A really wonderful summary pick. And that's what we'll do to end tonight. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks again for everything, and good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite frankly, film before a live studio audience. And now our super chatters, starting with Natwall, Grimbald, Grandma Grateful, Merlin Marvel, Maggie D8, Road Trip, Jay Brits, In the Bushes, Safety Net, Vesper, Silly Boar, Valhalla, Kobe Shumway, Irving Sanguinetti, Dalmy 2979, Lakiva, Tommy Jekyll, Pablo Wenscabar, Miss Maniac 666, Delona, CB Joey, Paulie 9363, Robert Sarnes, Running on Empty, Jay Semo, Kiss Chaos, and all of you at home, thank you so much. Become a sponsor of the show, ladies and gentlemen, on quitefrankly.tv/sponsor, and join all of the after hours and all of the behind the scenes fun and all of the extras, including, well, I don't know, rub downs. Everybody gets a rub down this month if you become a sponsor. All right, good night.